Hi, I'm Elaine. Welcome to Top Tip Tuesday on my Stamp with Elaine Facebook page. Did you miss the Abundant Decorative Masks in the September to December 2023 mini catalogue? It's on page 47 and it's these masks. They're called the Abundant Beauty Masks and there are 4 patterns altogether. So there's a houndstooth one, which will make this pattern, an autumn leaf one, which will make this pattern, and a snowflake one, which will make this pattern. Each mask is a different size, so you can have a bigger background, or just for a card front, or a gift bag, or whatever project you wish to use the masks on. The 4th pattern is a sunflower, but it takes 4 templates with different stencils and different positions to make up the whole image. You'll see that there's a notch, a V-shaped notch in the top left-hand corner, and underneath it, it is marked with numbers. Can you see that? The first one you use is the petals. The second is the leaf, the third is the centre, and the 4th is the detail on the centre. My top tip is on how to use these 4 masks to create your sunflowers. And I've got some low tack tape and I've positioned the painter's tape here to use as a hinge to anchor my stencil. Okay, so I'm going to pop that down, and I've also coloured in the notch in black pencil so I can easily position each stencil in that same position. I've also used the grid paper at the 1-inch mark to align the top of this stencil or mask. Okay, and I've drawn that black mark, V-shaped mark there. So you can cut your cardstock the same size as the stencil if you wish, but then if you do that you're going to lose that mark there. So I would just trim my cardstock to the size you want for your card front. So that will be, if my matte layer is 3 1/4 inches, I'd cut that at the width at 3 5/8 inches and the length at 5 3/8 inches. Then I'm going to put a bit of glue on the back, use the spreader end to spread the glue and then leave it to dry so that this will be repositionable. Now that this is dry, lift this up on the hinge and align this, draw a line here back to my cardstock and align it with the line along here. Okay, then use this tape to just keep that in position and start with number 1. So I'll need some blending brushes and ink pads. I'm going to do a gerbera. It could be a daisy, but gerberas are also a type of daisy. So the colour palette that I'm using is Bubble Bath, Melon Mambo and Lemon Lime Twist. So I'm going to start with the lightest colour first, which is the Bubble Bath Pink. Get most of that colour off, clean the brush and tap it off first, and then just very lightly go around the edges. Then, because I've created a hinge there with the painter's tape and aligned it with that grid line, I'm going to peel that back to release this template and then bring in template 2. So this time it will be the leaves. That's number 2, and I'm going to line it up with the notch. and with this grid line here, and bring that down. This time I'm just going to use the lemon lime twist, tap it off. You want to always tap off the colour, because when you first ink up the brush or load the brush with ink, that's the most intense it will be. You don't want splotches of colour, so therefore you tap the excess on the scratch paper before adding it to the leaf. And I want it a little bit darker just at the base of the leaf. Then peel that off again, only up to the score line. Remove that mask and come in with number 3. So that's the number 3 mask. Line that notch up with the black triangle you've coloured in. Re-adhere the painter's tape to your mask or stencil. Ink up with Melon Mambo, and I'm just going to very lightly do this centre. Now we move on to the 4th stencil or mask to complete the image. So again, line up the notch along here, line it up with a grid line, reattach your mask, and this time you go in all guns blazing. This time ink it up with Melon Mambo again, and this time you can go a lot darker. Then you can remove the mask and remove this. And you want to keep that grid paper for other projects if you wish. You can do it in all sorts of colours. Another tip is that if you just merely want to do a corner of the stencil, for instance, we go back to number 1. We won't need this grid paper, but we would want those just to keep the paper in place so it doesn't move. And this time we want to place that in the corner. So my tip is just to use post-it notes on top of the other 2 stencils so that you don't accidentally fill it. So orient the cardstock so that there is a place where you can mark your template. So it's down here. There's the notch. So I'm going to just draw this bit here. And the mask here will prevent you from going over the other flowers by accident, because you only just want the corner. So again, tap off the colour. Remove that. Take number 2. Where do you want your leaf? I think I'll have my leaf down here. So now I want my number 3 template. So line that up. There's my notch. Use Melon Mambo, darker ink, just very lightly. Then switch. There's my notch again. Line it up with the notch there. want it darker this time. Then when you come to cleaning these, it's best to do it over the sink. So put a little bit of washing up liquid on it and just use your hand to wash the ink off, because there are little bits that might stick out, especially for these ones. See how those stick out? Hang on, let me move that so you can see. See these little fronds here? Those stick out, so if you rub it, this will lift up and damage the fronds. So it's best just to use your hand and just wash it. So that's my top tip for today on how to use the stencils, how to make a grid paper, mark it and secure it onto a grid sheet so that you get perfect results each time. So this is the daisy one. So I've shown you how you can do just the corner by moving and marking the stencil onto your grid paper so you can reposition it in the same position each time. That one is sort of a pink daisy using this stack of 4 stencils to make the one image of the trio of flowers, and this one is one that I made in sunflower colours. So I hope you've enjoyed today's top tip. Thanks for watching. Bye.